What makes somebody a genuinely ethical leader? Someone who walks the walk and just doesn't talk the talk. Today, we are exploring 5 powerful habits of ethical leaders that you can apply immediately to transform your leadership, enhance your influence, and build trust with your team. Stick with us. Hey everyone, John here. 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 Welcome to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. I am your host, John Espinosa. Thank you for joining us today. Taking the time to invest in yourself, one of the most important things, and we're going to talk about it today, is investing time to develop yourself as a leader, as a parent, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, whatever that looks like. Kudos to you. Today, we're going to talk about 5 simple habits that are going to help you along your journey of leadership in becoming or enhancing the ethical part of what we do as leaders. In this current environment that we're in, we see all the time businesses that are laying people off, businesses that are just really treating employees not very well. And leadership is one of those things where it's built on trust and it's built on influence. And as leaders, trust is one of the hardest things to gain and one of the easiest things to lose. So today, each one of these 5 steps are going to outline a way to enhance and sustain our trust as leaders, as business owners, and as those solopreneurs out there that are beginning to build their teams. A lot of times, as an entrepreneur, I did a lot of work on my own. And when I got to the point where I needed to scale my business and I needed to start interacting with people, building teams, whatever that looked like, ethics was a big part. How I held conversations, what I said, I did what I said, and I said what I did. Those things go a long way. I was taught in my very early career never to burn bridges. And one of the things, I actually worked for the same manager 3 times in my career. So imagine if I would have burnt that bridge that first time, or even the second time, thinking that we'll never cross paths again. Guess what? 3 times. And then they sat on an interview panel for a job that I was lucky enough to get. So you just never know along your journey where you're going to run into people. And if this is someone that, you work for and they may not hold themselves to the highest ethical standard, modeling is one of the best things that you can do to lead up. And I talk to people all the time, just because you're not leading an organization or you're not a team lead, you're still a leader. People are watching. A lot of times, staying quiet is one of the best things that you can possibly do, and just model correct and ethical behavior, because people will notice. I can promise you, if it's not your direct supervisor or your direct leader, another leader will notice, and you never know when they're going to open up a spot on their team and ask you to come be a part of that. So again, the importance of this episode is to take away one of these 5 habits. Maybe one of these 5 habits resonate more than another. Maybe there's one where, you're doing regular check-ins and you're holding yourself and others accountable, but maybe there's another habit of making sure that you stay consistent. That's where you need to work. So again, get out your journals. I want this to be an active listening podcast. Don't just be a passive learner. Again, if you're driving or you're working out or you're taking us on a run today, just bookmark this episode. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know that you enjoyed it. And then that way we can make more of this content. This month is almost wrapping up. So that means our season is wrapping up. So we got another week to go. But I can promise you this week is going to be about ethics. It's going to be about inclusivity. You're not going to want to miss any of these episodes, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel as well. So let's get into the first habit that we're going to talk about today. The first habit is going to be transparent communication. Now, you may be asking yourself, John, I communicate well. I get feedback. I give feedback. I got it. Check. Right? Move on to habit 2. Well, let's just unpack this a little bit. When we talk about transparent communication as a leader, a lot of times you get stuck between a rock and a hard place. You're hearing information from senior leadership or about the organization, or as a business owner, know information that your employees don't know. But sometimes you can't share that information. So this goes back to that ethical piece when we talk about leadership is, make sure that you share the information that you can share. And if there's a question asked about information that you can't share, the way I address that is I can't share that information with you. Just make that statement. Don't lie about it. Don't lie that you don't know, or don't lie that you haven't heard, because it will come around, and it might not bite you the first time, but I can promise you the second and third time, pretty soon you're not going to remember who you told what. So it's just best to tell the truth. And if you can't tell them that information, just to let them know. I think that goes a long way. I found that the teams that I've led and the teams that I've been a part of, I appreciate a leader who says, I just can't tell you, I can't share that with you right now, but as soon as I can, I promise I will. That lets you know as an employee or just as a team member that they have your back and you can truly honor their word. So open and honest communication. When we talk about transparency, make sure that we're remaining open. One of the other practical applications that you can do around this habit is during your one-on-one meetings. I am a big one-on-one meeting fan. I have weekly one-on-ones with my team. They appreciate it. Sometimes I schedule them for 30 minutes. Sometimes we go 30 minutes. Sometimes we go 5 minutes. Sometimes we don't meet at all. If I get a message or they're busy on a project and they say, hey, I don't really have anything to talk about, but I put it on my calendar and I make a commitment to show up. I move things around those meetings. So one, what's that telling you? That's telling you that you're important. That's telling you that I care, that, there's things that I want to hear from you. Those one-on-ones are great feedback sessions. And one of the things along this habit of transparent communication that you can do is review those goals. So what exactly are the goals that we set, and then make sure that we're reviewing them daily? I review my goals daily. Sometimes I review them twice daily. Why? Because it lets me know, am I on track? Are the things that I am doing currently working towards that goal? One of the hardest things to do is to keep the main thing. And you can get off track easily. There's those shiny objects that always pop up and takes our focus, or we lose our attention on what the main thing is. So this is an opportunity again to maintain that transparent communication, that ethical leadership, to address any concerns that you have, and really, stop it before it even gets going sometimes. That's a big part of this. I want to take a quick break from our discussion today to mention a couple things. First of all, thank you for listening. Only 50% of our listeners are subscribed to our channel. Do me a favor, click on that subscribe button. It's going to allow our channel to continue to grow and give you updates whenever we get new episodes published. The second thing is our coaching program. People who want to work with me are looking to make a lasting change, level up, or get unstuck. I gave up on my dreams. I was a young parent, had to make a couple career changes. I went through some financial hardships. I had to learn how to flip my mindset and stay consistent. Our coaching programs are individualized one-on-one sessions where I will teach you a proven system and guarantee that you can reinvent yourself over and over again. If that sounds like something that interests you, head on over to thejohnespinosa.com and sign up to get more information. Now back to the show. The other thing is encourage questions. When you relay communication, a lot of times, especially when I'm stressed, I get very dictatorial. My tone can be very dictatorial. So it sounds like I'm giving commands instead of asking. And one of the things that I've learned is to pause at the very end and just simply ask the question, is everybody in alignment? Is there something that you're missing? Is there something that we can do better? It opens up the environment, lets them know that there's a two-way street here. And for me, sometimes they tell me, hey, John, that came across pretty harsh. And I step back and I say, you know what? You're right. I got a little bit of an edge today. I apologize. Here's what I know. Or how would you do it better? Open that up. Always be one of the things that leaders, I think, sometimes get confused about is you don't have to know everything. You do not have to know everything in order to be successful as a leader. I want that to sink in. Your job as a leader is to make sure you take care of your team, of your organization, and of your business. Don't expect them to work as hard, especially if you're a business owner out there. I used to get frustrated with this. I'm like, why isn't everybody working as hard as I am? It's your business. You should be the one that's working the hardest. So back to make sure that you're questioning, you don't get too dictatorial. This allows me to really settle in and get the feedback that I need to get. And then admit when I'm wrong. I'm a human being. I make mistakes. I don't push that under the rug. I always come out and I'm like, you know what? I was wrong on that. That was a bad decision. I will do better next time. Here's what I learned. Share that. Goes a long way. Habit 1, transparent communication. So let's get into habit 2 here. And when I was journaling this morning, I was thinking about, okay, how can we break down these habits into actionable steps? Because again, I want you to walk away and I want you to be able to implement one of these at the end of the episode today. So when we talk about the second habit of consistent accountability, this is one that for me, I struggle with a little bit. And here's why I struggle with it. I hold myself to a very high standard. I compete with myself. I don't compete with anybody else because I know that my standard is above where it needs to be and I can consistently work towards meeting that and hold myself accountable. Guess what? I'm going to excel. I'm going to exceed what I need to do in order to just be the normal. So when I get a team together, I also expect high standards from them. But as a leader, you can't go around demanding excellence whenever you yourself don't show them what excellence is about. So as a leader, this is very, very important. And I want you all to take a minute and listen to this. The law of attraction, you will attract only up to the level of excellence that you want to show up to every day. So let's take this on a number of 1 to 10. John Maxwell explains this the best way. If you are a 6 leader, you are only going to attract up to a 6, 5, 4, or below. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not a 6 leader. I'm a 10 leader. I want to attract others around me that are also 10s and 9s and 8s. So I'm going to set my standards high. And that's what I mean. I struggle because I really do expect a lot out of me and I expect a lot of our team. So how do we get that done without seeming too bossy or too pushy? Well, 1, be clear on your expectations. Don't be fuzzy here. This is where you need to sit down and really clearly articulate your expectations. Write them on the board, put them in your team minutes, put them on your agendas, put them up on the wall. I don't care where you put them in your organization, but you need to be very clear on your expectations. This is going to help not only hold your team accountable, but also you as a leader to hold yourself accountable. Remember, just like I went and I reviewed my goals daily, the expectations need to be in your face and you need to be talking to them. So that's the first thing you're going to do. The second thing you're going to do is in those check-ins. This is another important reason why I like to have those check-ins. When you begin to see the delta, when there's a discrepancy, either above or beyond, you need to address it. And you need to address it. So here's the trick here. And I'm just going to be very open and honest with you. I tend to wait just a little bit because I always give somebody a bad day, but if it becomes a habit, and for me, if you miss 2 days in a row, it's becoming a habit. That's when I address it. So for you, if you're in a safety critical occupation, maybe you got to address it immediately. If you're not in a safety critical, you can let it go a little bit and they start to learn. So here it's not just John coming in and correcting the behavior or letting them know I see this delta, but the awareness piece, the self-awareness for your team, teaching them how to auto-correct, right? So don't come up with the solution yourself. When you do sit down and have the conversation, ask them, do you see this? 1, do they see the discrepancy? here's the expectation that we've set for the team around me that are also 10s and 9s and 8s. So I am going to set my standards high. And that's what I mean. I struggle because I really do expect a lot out of me and I expect a lot of our team. So how do we get that done without seeming too bossy or too pushy? Well, one, be clear on your expectations. Don't be fuzzy here. This is where you need to sit down and really clearly articulate your expectations. Write them on the board, put them in your team minutes, put them on your agendas, put them up on the wall. I don't care where you put them in your organization, but you need to be very clear on your expectations. This is going to help not only hold your team accountable, but also you as a leader to hold yourself accountable. Remember, just like I went and I reviewed my goals daily, the expectations need to be in your face and you need to be talking to them. So that's the first thing you're going to do. The second thing, a lot of times people make decisions for the business, and that's okay. As long as you let people know, Southwest Airlines just made a decision for the good of the business to start charging for check bags. They've never in the history of Southwest have charged for check bags, and now they're doing it. Guess what? That was a business decision. That didn't have the people in mind, the customers in mind, okay? Ethical leaders take into account the people part of their decision-making process. Take into account, don't let that always drive your decision. In the example of Southwest, I'm sure they thought about the customers. However, they needed to make a business decision. So I am hoping everything that I know of Southwest, stand-up organization, stand-up company, I've flown on Southwest. I know their culture because I see it. I see it in their employees. I see it in the cabin safety folk and in the pilots, in the check bags when they check you in. There is a culture that says to me, this is ethical. So I can only assume that that decision was made from a business standpoint, but they took into account the customers. So this is what I'm talking about when you have empathy in your decision making. Prioritize the people over the processes, and then pause to consider an impact. And this is the application that I want you to take for this habit. Just give yourself a little pause. Now, I'm not asking you for a big delay because leaders need to make decisions. People who can't make decisions, that's not good. What I'm telling you is give yourself a little pause. Consider the people part of this. And then also, I would ask that you consider the communication. So back to the Southwest decision, you heard the CEO say this was a decision we had to make for the board, for the company to stay afloat. And I'm okay with that because I like Southwest Airlines and I want to continue flying with Southwest Airlines. They made a decision for the company, but the CEO came out and told us that. So share that decision-making process with the team. It allows them a little bit of insight into why and how you came to the decision. And then it brings them into the fold to also let them know if this decision was made for the business, that's why it was made. The second piece here is when you make a decision, solicit viewpoints. Now, I'm not saying that you have to take all those viewpoints into consideration to making your decision, because one of the things we're going to talk about, you can't be a people pleaser as a leader. You have to be grounded in your values to make decisions that are best for the organization and that are best for the overall team. But taking into account the people part of that is the ethical part that I want to concentrate on in this habit. So it's very, very important. And then we talked about sharing your process. So habit number 3, empathy and decision making, very important for ethical leadership. Share that process and put people first. Just give them a little pause, right? As you're making that decision, gain some insight, and then make your decision and share that. Habit number 4, courage to act with integrity. And this one right here, oh my goodness, I tell you what, I have really questioned leaders' integrity over the past 6 to 8 weeks. Do you really have our backs? Does your leader, does your manager, does your senior leadership in the organization, do they have your backs when the time gets tough? Because when everything's going well, when you got all the money, when you got all the resources, they're coming in, it's real easy to lead. But when the times get tough, that's where integrity shows up. Do you do what you're going to say even when nobody's watching? That's what integrity is to me. So when we talk about this fourth habit of courage to act with integrity when the times are tough, when it's a difficult decision, where are your values, right? And do you follow those values? So the first application here, you have to know your values. You have to define those core values, operationalize them. When I talk about trust as a value, what does that look like? That looks like I'm going to say the things that I'm going to do, and then I'm going to hold myself accountable to get them done. When I say I'm going to do something, you can trust that it's going to get done. That's what it looks like. That's what trust looks like as one of my core values. So you have to define and know your core values, and then make sure you're regularly checking alignment. I have my 4 of 5 core values. There's a really neat card exercise. If you go Google, you can get these value cards, and it's a deck of probably, 40 or 50 cards. And you just narrow the deck down. I do this in my team, my mastermind sessions that I work with teams, because if you don't know your values, how can you make decisions based on those values? How can you maintain that integrity when times get tough? Because times will get tough. So one of the ways that you can do it, narrow those values down, put them on a sticky, put them on your, screensaver, whatever that looks like. They're always in front of me to let me know that I make decisions and I live my life by those values. So define and then check for alignment. When you do get out of alignment, this is kind of like when that discrepancy happens with the expectation. Your expectation that you set for yourself is to align with those values. So when you notice the delta there, when you notice you kind of getting off to the right or getting off to the left, that's when you go back and you try to recenter yourself with those values to make sure that you're in alignment. So that's courage to act. And then the fifth habit right here is a lifelong commitment to growth. And as this habit, leaders are learners. You have to consistently be learning about leadership, be learning about the things that how to communicate better, how to make better decisions, how to problem solve, how to create leaders, how to be an ethical leader like you're learning about today. Leaders are learners. However you do that, go attend workshops, formal training, webinars, podcasts. The world is your oyster. There is plenty of information out there, paid and unpaid, for you to go get information on becoming a leader, being a leader at all levels of an organization. The other thing practically that you can do here and apply is find a mentor. And I would encourage you to find a mentor that's 2 to 3 levels up. One thing that I always ask people when they come and they're struggling with, whatever it is, implementation of their values, making sure that they're staying consistent, I ask them who they're surrounding themselves with. Who are you talking to on a day-to-day basis? Because if you don't have anybody that you're looking up to, or that's at least on level, going back to the levels that law of attraction, do you have 10s around you that you can ask, that you can, lean on, ask for advice, ask for their console? And you may not be a 10, you may be a 7, but do you have a 10 to go look to? I always find people that are 2 to 3 levels above me, and that's who I go ask for mentorship. That's who I go ask for coaching. They are doing what I want to do, and I want to learn how they're doing it. That's what I mean by habit number 5 of being a lifelong learner, having that commitment to growth, continuing to grow. I set my standard very high, so I have to achieve that through growth. I have to go get uncomfortable because that's when growth is occurring. So again, today was all about what you can do to better yourself as an ethical leader, to make sure that we're following one of these habits. So let's go over them again. Habit 1, transparent communication. Do what you say and say what you do. Make sure you're open and honest. Habit number 2, consistent accountability. Hold yourself to a higher standard. Make sure you're accountable to yourself, and then others will follow. Hold them accountable as well. Set those expectations and be very clear. Habit number 3, empathy and decision making. Making sure that the people are before the process whenever you are making decisions. You're consistent in your decisions, and you share your decision-making process. Habit number 4, courage to act with integrity. You got to know your values here. You have to understand what your core values are, and if there are any difference between what you expect and how you operationalize those values, you have to pause and get back in alignment. And then habit number 5, having this lifelong commitment to growth. That's what we're all about here in the Leading Leaders podcast, in the Go Be Great community, because we're helping others get to where they're going. Thank you all today for investing in yourself. I hope you found at least one thing that you can go implement tomorrow, because that's your challenge. I believe in you. Go be great. Talk to everyone later. Bye-bye. If you like what you're hearing, do us a favor. Click on that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up or leave a comment. That lets us know that what we are putting out benefits you. If you want additional information or resources or learn how to work with me, head on over to thejohnespinosa.com, because when we become better versions of ourselves, it helps us get others to where they're going. Go be great. Talk to everyone later.